Hello, welcome to us live here at Sutton Hoo on the penultimate day of our fantastic dig. It's been 4 years in the making, 2 days of excavation and
2 years of excavation.
Oh, it felt like it span by. It felt like 2 days. No, I tell you why I fluffed then. It was because I knew that I had to remind people of the documentaries. I wasn't sure when.
Oh, yes.
I will do it now.
Yeah, do it now.
There are documentaries coming out next year when we have pulled everything together. We don't yet know when because it just depends on how we mull it all over. But do please watch out for them. So, end of day one.
Oh, end of everything.
End
I mean,
of
we've got
everything.
1 day left, and
Yeah.
look how much there is to do. They're doing heroic jobs, doing the feature definition. It's going to be photo cleaning soon, and then the features are going to have to be dug. We've started that already, but there's still a lot to do.
And what happened to Trench 2? It kind of disappeared, didn't it?
It did. It literally disappeared. What happened was we dug all the features, and they pretty much all turned out to be natural. So it was backfilled, and the turf is regrowing.
And what about the Broomswell bucket? Any news on that yet?
There is news. We've had the carbon date back, but it is almost as confusing as it is. In fact, it's more confusing than it was before we asked.
OK, well, hold on to that thought for a moment. We've done something a little bit daft. We've asked all our team to get together and think about who were the really important contributors to this, this piece of time team. In other words, I know what the answer is. Who's who at Sutton Hoo?
King Radworld, legendary warrior, probably buried with all his bling in his ship in one of over 18 mounds here at Sutton Hoo.
His formidable wife, whose name is lost, could well have orchestrated and organised his spectacular funeral and may herself be buried in Mound 14.
Edith Pretty, whose curiosity about the mounds in a garden started off this whole adventure.
Basil Brown. He first discovered the iron rivets in Mound 1 and then made sure the ship was preserved for future generations.
Charles Phillips from Cambridge University, who took control of the dig after Basil Brown discovered the ship.
Peggy Piggott, the person who first unearthed the buried treasure when she encountered a gold and garnet sword pyramid in 1939.
Mercy Lack and Barbara Wagstaff, 2 school teachers and serious amateur photographers who took over 60% of the contemporary negative record of the excavations that took place here at Sutton Hoo in 1939.
Martin Carver, because Martin developed an exquisite way of thoroughly excavating in the Mound Cemetery, and he gave us the full story. He gave us 2 mounds with complete ships. He gave us the other intact mound burial at Sutton Hoo, the horse and the prince in Mound 17, and he also revealed the execution cemeteries. So he's done more than anybody else, I think, to show us what Sutton Hoo really consists of.
Angela Kerr Evans, in the 1960s, painstakingly examined and recorded every single one of the 3,500 rivets that survived, and later was responsible for recording much of the metalwork, including the Bromswell bucket.
Rupert Bruce Mitford led a second campaign of excavations of the ship in Mound 1 and produced 3 magnificent volumes for the British Museum.
Madeline Humler for pioneering the study of prehistory at Sutton Hoo and pushing back the story by thousands of years.
That was a pretty good point that Naomi just made, wasn't it?
It was. I think we always have to remember that we need to respect the people who are buried in this cemetery. Every grave is a little individual tragedy, and each one is also the remains of an actual human being, of course.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget that, but it's so important.
Yeah. But what about you, Tony? You know, you haven't had a chance to nominate who you would like to put in Who's Who at Sutton Hoo. Who's it going to be?
Well, it's pretty easy for me, actually, because she's in my sight line right now. Jackie? We're just saying that you're very good.
Oh, that's very kind of you, thank you.
She is, honestly, she's the best bones person I think that we've ever had. It really is such a privilege to...
Yeah, she's extraordinary.
But let's throw to the audience, if I could clear the cameras out of the way for the moment. What about you? A lot of you have watched Time Team. over the years, haven't you? Who do you think is important? Who that we've missed out?
Helen.
Helen Gee.
I think we were a bit fishing for compliments there, Tony.
Yeah, they said you, not me, which is outrageous. But Helen is fantastic, and you know she's been working here for so long that she's got the experience that most of us simply haven't got. There are a lot of very intelligent people, bright people, intellectuals who are going to be prepared to answer questions that the Patreon viewers are asking, but also anything that you want to ask too. Have any of you got a question that you would like to ask that lot there?
When are you coming back?
Perfect question. When are we coming back?
That's a big question.
I don't know that. Both Helen and I would like to know the answer to that because we've got our phone bills to pay.
Yes.
What do you reckon? Do you think we'll come back?
Well, we've got to ask a lot of people. We've got to build a consensus. Everybody's got to know what we're doing.
It's not just us, is it? It's
No.
National Trust, it's Sutton Hoo itself.
Yes, all the academics, British Museum, everybody's got to be on board.
How do you feel? Because in a way you're more invested than almost anybody else, aren't you? You've worked. How long since you first came to this place?
I first came here when I was 20, just 20.
So 3 or 4 years ago. That's ridiculous.
I've
How do you
lived so
feel about
much
it?
of my life here. You know, this is it's almost like a second home. This is where I grew up, you know. So there's a lot of me invested in here.
And there's a lot of this lot invested here as well. So we are going to ask you a lot of questions. The first one is one that came from out there. Are we going to come back next year?
Yeah. Who wants to come back next year?
Martin, everybody except you. Why is that?
Well, don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful site and it's also a precious site. I think if we came back, we would have to excavate it at great expense and in great expanse, and it's got to be kept safe. I think it's got to be kept safe for the future till we get new questions. That's my answer.
But you flung your hand up enthusiastically.
Yeah, I completely understand where Martin's coming from because this is not a threatened site, so we need to be cautious. But I think there are still some questions being asked by our little dig here at the moment, which by expanding our area a bit, we could answer. And we do have some questions that go way back to the beginning of this project. This was only going to be the first trench, and then we were going to look at some other areas of garden fields. So I still think we've got a way to go, but obviously a really massive excavation would be really even better.
Well, once we know, we'll let you know via Patreon, fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Helen, have you got a question?
I have. I've got a question for Naomi. Naomi, do you have a list of plants growing at Sutton Hoo in Anglo-Saxon times, and have you found any new ones?
Ooh, that's a great question. Okay, so number one, yes, there are a list of Anglo-Saxon plants from previous excavations, previous pollen reports. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of the trees, so there's oak and willow and hazel and all those really nice species. In terms of any new ones, I haven't yet really started to get into the nitty-gritty of what I've had out this week, but I'm hoping to add to that. I'm really hoping we do find something a bit different.
Lovely.
Before we ask any more questions, any of you at home can ask questions too. If you want to, then do so in chat. And I'm going to shift to a bit of VT at the moment while you're preparing your questions. The highlight of the year was the discovery of the bucket. And we've got the carbon-14 date in. But before we reveal it, here is the story of our bucket.
We heard a rumour, Keith, that you had found something possibly part of a bucket.
And I've got a similar signal to that just here.
So there we are. Very, very thin, slightly curving sheep bronze.
That looks very like bucket. In fact, that's the best view I've seen. We've got a line here and a line there.
Oh my word.
Oh!
Wow.
Are there letters on
Oh
it?
my goodness, it's a face.
A face coming at us out of history.
Yes.
That's what you want on Time Team, isn't it?
So Jackie's going to be micro-excavating the bucket with Sophie the conservator on hand to deal with the objects and the pieces of the bucket as they come out. And then as the soil is getting excavated away, I'll be jumping in and having a look. And we're going to be doing that as we go down every spit in every quadrant. So yeah, it's quite a unique opportunity to have. I just can't wait to see what you've been up to the last few months. There she is. Oh my.
Gus, these are all the big bits that have of the bucket that have come out of the micro-excavation of the block. So they're the pieces that remained in the ground after the top that you saw in the exhibition had been pulled out by the harrow. So this is an amazing moment.
Brass is something that I just absolutely kind of have a huge fascination in. And then that decoration, as you say, is extraordinary, and it's so fluid.
Yes.
And it's about life rather than a particular moment. It's about kind of living an activity rather than celebrating a particular person. I think if you look at the hair, soft kind of afro, if you look at the profile of what you can see of the nose, that they may well have been a sub-Saharan African person, but they may have been North African. But what is very clear is that the artist is trying to depict someone who is enormously kind of confident and proud of their sense of identity. And I think that kind of sense of it being about something kinetic and active, it really does speak to some of the sorts of traditions that come out of North Africa and West Africa, that you look at those traditions and that what they want to capture in their art is animation. It's life, it's activity.
Yeah, but it's not done with the flow of a pencil. It's done by the tuk, tuk, tuk of a chasing tool. And look at these legs. Look at the outline of these legs, these muscles, and the crossing leg there that's going behind.
Yes.
They're just, but they're beautifully fluid, and yet they're made in metal with a hammer.
I mean, that is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then you look at how thin that is as well. Playing with all of those dimensions and then telling a story on something which is circular as well. So it would be a story which is not just about movement and life, but one which is continuous, that would go all the way around this absolutely beautiful vessel.
So, what's the date and what does it mean? Helen?
Simple questions, eh? Well, what we've got is a date from the bone, and it seems that the bone is somewhere between well, as late as the mid-6th century, so about 550, but it could be as early as the mid-5th century, so about 430. Now, we had thought, so that's the date of the burial, we had thought that the date of the making of the bucket was mid-6th, so about 550, but that it was buried a lot later. So it now seems like we've got a date for the burial that's earlier than the date of the manufacture, and so it's all very confusing.
Martin, what do you think that story means?
What was the evidence that it was mended?
There is, yes, there are repair patches in 2 or 3 places round the base, and there's solder as well.
So if the art historian's date is right, it should be buried in, I don't know, 550, 560, something like that, which would be perfectly reasonable. It's not unreasonable, but that bucket got to the banks of the Deben a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Remembering it's a carbon date, they are long.
We've got to try and stitch them together, I think.
It begs the question, of course, how did it get there? How did the bucket get here?
Yeah, it does.
I guess that's maybe for another time.
Definitely got here, part of the way it got here in a ship.
How do you know that? Oh, because it had to. Duh.
We are an island.
Yeah. Right. To cover my embarrassment, I'll read another question. Oh, Martin, this is to you. Why are there 3 cemeteries at Sutton Hoo?
Oh, yes. Well, there are 3 cemeteries at Sutton Hoo, and they're different kinds of cemeteries. So the first one is the one we've been working on this year. Very interesting. Cremations and inhumations, getting quite rich. Second one is a mound cemetery with lots of rich people, and there are those. We've done quite a few of those, so we know something about them. And then the third one is, that dates to the 7th century, and then the third one is a cemetery of executions, and these are executions carried out near the mounds, and in one case round a particular mound, Mound 5. These unfortunates have survived, tumbled into graves. They've been hanged, and their wrists and legs are tied together, so we're quite sure what happened. The dates are 8th to 11th century. So this is a story which takes a community, the community living beside the Deben, certainly from the early 6th century through to the 11th century, and how their lives changed.
Helen?
Yes, I've got one for Danny. Danny, what was it like working with Patreons in the test pits? Spill the beans.
Oh, well, it was great. We celebrated a birthday. We sang in the rain. But most importantly, I think what was fantastic was being able to provide people with the opportunity to get hands-on with archaeology and let them discover archaeology for themselves. So it was fantastic. Yeah, it was really good. Big shout out to all the patrons.
Penny, is there anything out there to encourage children that have an interest in archaeology to get involved?
Absolutely. We've got the Young Archaeologists Club, normally known as YAC. They're based in York, and any young person from 8 to 16 years of age is welcome to come along. Look up on the website yak.org.uk, type in your postcode and it'll bring up the nearest club for you.
Great. Fantastic. Now there's one here that's very dear to my heart, which is going to go to Derek. Derek, what modern technology has been used to explore the origins of the bucket?
Oh, that's a great question. I got to spend a very nice day with the base of the bucket yesterday, using my portable X-ray fluorescence analyzer, which is a bit of a mouthful, an XRF, to look at the chemical composition, the fingerprints of the different alloys in the bucket. And the very kind thing about Anglo-Saxon-ish metalsmiths is different places use different recipes and different alloys. So we're going to use that data, analyse that data, and hopefully tell a story about the biography of the bucket before it got here.
Naomi, these are questions that were coming in before we started doing this. Have we had anything in the last few minutes?
Oh, it's just been blowing up. There's so many whizzing by, but this one's quite a nice one. Am I allowed to say the person's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is from Simon Piggott, who says, are there any other sites in the UK which, if explored by Time Team, might link to what has been found and understand at Sutton Hoo and would help us to understand the wider Anglo-Saxon story?
Anyone want to answer that?
Well, I'll go. There are some brilliant excavations that have already happened. For example, Spong Hill is one of the very few that all the all the cremations have been excavated, and all the inhumations as well. So that's a blueprint for what an Anglo-Saxon cemetery could look like. However, it isn't just cemeteries, is it? I mean, I think we're all interested in the living just as much. There's been some wonderful excavations recently of hall sites, that's to say, where they're building big timber frame buildings in Oxford, in Kent, and in Rendlesham, yes, just up the road, up the river from here. Sorry, up the river from here, and they've got a hall, and so I think those are really broadening the understanding of what it's like to be an Anglo-Saxon in Suffolk in that period.
Shannon, can you tell us anything about life before the Anglo-Saxons at Sutton Hoo?
Yes, there is. I think it's great that we're focusing a lot on the Anglo-Saxons, but we have to remember that this site doesn't sit isolated in time. So there have been people in this landscape for thousands of years. So what we're finding, not so much up here, obviously we know there's Iron Age and Bronze Age activity up on the hill, but down by the river where we did the test pits and we've worked along the river, we found evidence of early Neolithic flint working. So there's people in the landscape. What I'm really excited about and what we need to do more with, I think, is the environments that they're living in. So we've got evidence of potential soils that relate to woodlands, former woodlands that were here, and also things like sand dunes right on the river edge. So we've got completely different landscapes which people have been active in over thousands of years, represented in our test pits.
Brilliant. And I see this next one to Lawrence has got something about trees. I see this one's from Isla Pickering, and she says, Lawrence, we know you love trees and you've been out looking at the landscape. Have you got anything tree related connected to the dig?
Aren't trees great? Yes. There are obviously John and Jimmy's fantastic geophysical results that perhaps we'll come on to a bit later. But yeah, a few tree-related things linked to tree boles give us an idea of the sort of forest environment that might have been here at certain times. Obviously, timbers used for the retting pit, and the material to make the pyres, the burning of the cremations that we found out in our lovely trench. Lots of great things.
Danny, what was it like working with the Patreons in the test pits?
We've had that one. I think you're aiming for that one. We've got such a big mess of questions. We've got thousands of them. Help a mixed little friend. Should we read it together?
Angus, how much time will be spent closing up the work area?
Well, this is the saddest bit of any excavation. We spend thousands of hours together painstakingly taking apart an area of soil, and then somebody in a great big JCB comes along and fills it all in probably hours. But interestingly, I chatted to John, who was the digger driver down in Riverview Field, and he almost had tears in his eyes because he says he's always the last person on a site, all on his own, filling in everybody's work, and then the wonderful project is over and he drives off into the sunset.
Jimmy,
yeah.
No one's asked you a question yet, have they?
No, I was hoping to get away with it.
Are you closer to finding out the extent of the cemetery? What are the blobs on the geophys?
Oh, there we go. Dun, dun, dun. I'll start with that first part. Not yet, I would say, is the answer. Those blobs we knew wouldn't all be burials because we have a geology here that produces sort of magnetic responses that look similar to the cremations. We've got a lot of tree throws where the trees have come down, and where the roots were what's been left has given us a magnetic signature. So what we've been able to do with the trench out there is actually really pin down which of those are the cremations and inhumations, and then we can use that to re-evaluate the data and hopefully be able to put a pin in the map and say, we think this is the limit of burials. So more to come.
Naomi, have we got any more coming in?
There is another one. I'm not sure. Maybe one of you two could answer this. From Robin Pike, will you be creating models of what the landscape would have looked like at different periods?
Wow, you've got to throw back to the computer over there. There's some incredible crews working on 3D reconstructions of Sutton Hoo, and there's going to be some beautiful models.
We're lucky. We're being joined by Bear and the fantastic 3D reconstruction teams, and
much like we saw with the first episodes that went out, with all this new data and the test pits and the environmental information, we're getting all the great stuff you're doing. I can't wait to see what tech wizardry they do with all of that for the next episodes.
Got any more, Naomi?
Let's have a look. Everything's whipping by so fast. I'm eager to hear anything you can share about the feature in the Riverview field and the state of preservation given the groundwater.
So that's probably a question for me. So this was this big rectangular feature that was found by the geophysics last year. So we did do a big trench and we hit water very quickly, which was a problem for us because all the sides started slumping in and it was pouring with rain. So we all got absolutely soaked and covered in mud. But we did find preserved timber in there, timber posts, and some interesting vegetable fibre right at the bottom, which we think is related to retting pits.
Why did we use different geophysical methodology in Riverview and the garden field?
That's because the different geophysics methods are really kind of tuned to different things. So the magnetic surveys that we've done have been really good for picking out cremations, ditches, pits, but the GPR survey gives us information about depth, and then resistivity surveys that we've done have allowed us to push really deep and look for things like old river channels, and really in Riverview being able to use all three together, GPR for detail, the resistance survey for giving us the kind of layout of that pit, and then resistivity for the actual size of it.
Thank you all. As you can see, the dig is still going and we've got one day to work out what's going on in this very important cemetery. To finish, let's use the dig itself as a backdrop, shall we? Goodbye, everybody. We're just about to finish now. Thank you for all your support. It's still very exciting, isn't it?
It is. I think the answers will come, but you know, one more day, maybe tune in when it turns up on the documentary.
It's been 4 years in the making and there's still a heck of a lot to do. And of course, it's all been paid for by our patrons. Thank you, everybody who's involved in Patreon. Details of how you can join it are on the link below, hopefully. And for now, from all of us, thanks for supporting us. Don't forget to watch the finished programmes from last season, which are already on YouTube. And watch out for Sutton Hoo. Shush! Watch out for Sutton Hoo Series 2, the finished films, when they come out. For now, goodbye. I know it's been a bit crazy, but that's live for you, isn't it? See you soon. Bye. Thanks a lot.
Time team are finally here at one of the most important archaeological sites in the world, Sutton Hoo.
Looks to be possibly bits of cremated bone there. I think we could have found one of our cremation burials.
It's a dream come true, isn't it? I mean, everyone wants to dig at Sutton Hoo.
I love it. I could be here all day, every day.
What's your most favourite place, Clara?
Sutton Hoo. We've got our first piece of Saxon. Little strap end.
I got an email saying I've been selected as a volunteer, so I was really happy.
I couldn't believe I had the opportunity to come back a second time. Everyone here has been so kind. They go out their way to get you involved.
Flint flake.
Really trying to work out how a boat might have got from down at the river edge up onto the slope up here.
Everything about that screams boat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It looked a bit like a boat. We hoped it might be a boat. I don't think it's a boat. So again, the rain is coming down, but that hasn't stopped us at all, has it?
No, the rain never stops us.
So this one, I can say is bucket.